Hi, it's Kevin Sharp, and today's guest is editor Joseph Illidge, who is currently writing a column called Adventures in the Champagne Room that you can find at the popverse.com, talking about the behind the scenes creator triumphs and struggles in the comics industry. Joseph, thank you for joining us on Comic Art Live.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Great to be here.
So, a little behind the scenes for the viewers. When I reached out to you about participating in this series, you immediately planted your flag with the page that you wanted so that nobody else could claim it. So please tell us what you chose and how this immediately came to mind for you.
Okay, great. And yes, I had to plant my flag. It's like no one else can touch this page. You're out of the picture. So one of my favorite comic book stories ever is Daredevil Born Again by Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli, Joe Rosen, Christy Shield, and Ralph Macchio was the editor. And so probably my favorite page in comics is from, yes, Daredevil 232. It's the splash page. And the title of the story is God and Country. And it's a splash page of Matt Murdock and Karen Page, and they're hugging each other, and they're in some kind of rooftop construct on the top of the building where they're hiding from various people, and they're just in normal clothes, and there's a reddish sky in the background, and it's just such an emotional page that for me it's my North Star as an editor and quite possibly as a writer. And I remember when I worked at DC Comics in the Batman editorial department, I had an 11 by 17 color copy of this page next to my desk. And one day, Frank Miller visited the offices because Bob Schreck took over as a Batman group editor from Denny O'Neil. And Bob, of course, has a long-standing relationship with Frank. So Frank came by the offices, and Bob introduced him to me, and he saw the page, and I told him, I said, thank you. I said, for me, this is the gold standard.
Were you reading it off the stands as it was released?
I started in comics in 1993 at Milestone. I feel like Born Again may have been coming out before that.
Yes, it was
And
the late '80s, I believe.
exactly right. And I was buying it off the stands. I remember hearing about Frank Miller coming back for a story that was going to shake Daredevil to its foundations. And when I read that first issue 227, I was hooked. In for a penny, in for a pound. I was going to follow this all the way through to the end because I had not read a superhero comic like that. And I felt that it was an evolution from his first run on Daredevil, in which he started as an artist with issue 158. And then I believe he started writing it with issue 168. And so I remember reading Daredevil Born Again month after month and being on the edge of my seat and just seeing how he was up in the ante and seeing the amazing work of David Mazzucchelli. David Mazzucchelli, he literally was evolving as an artist during his run on Daredevil, and Born Again was the culmination of his evolution on the series. And I had been familiar with the work of Christy Shield for years, and on the page that we're talking about, she was actually credited as Max Shield. And I don't know why that is, if that was her nickname, or if it was a situation where there was still a level of prejudice against women, so it was felt like if they took on names that could be perceived as masculine, then that would be less problematic for them, for the public. And Joe Rosen is an amazing letterer, and I love hand lettering. There's nothing like it, and you can really tell it when you see it, and especially when you see original artwork and you see either the lettering adhered on the board or you see the vellum overlay with the lettering on top of it.
So when people think of Born Again, I think there are certain like super dramatic developments in Daredevil's life that probably come to mind in the story. What does this page do for you?
I feel like it's the most evocative of the love and the pain and the relationship that is the story of Matthew Murdock and Karen Page. They have a love affair that goes back to Daredevil number 1, right? Karen is his original love and his first love, even before, at least in terms of the chronology of the comics, not necessarily Matt's life. For Matt's life, Electra Nachios is his first love. So to me, you could go from Daredevil 1 to this page, and it's this very long, dramatic arc of these two people, and just the way they're holding themselves, they're holding each other, rather, and Karen is biting into Matt's arm, right? And she's biting into his deltoid muscle, and there's no words coming from either of them, but you can just feel it. It's a really evocative page that makes you feel something. A guy I know, he's now an editor at First Second Books, and I remember we were having dinner, and I said to him, "What is it that you really like about this particular person's writing? Is it their use of language? Is it certain narrative devices?" And he said, "It's not the writing, but it's how it makes me feel." And I never forgot that. So this page makes me feel so many things. If I was just seeing it for the first time, if I never read this story and had no context, I could see this page and it would make me feel something. So to me, this moment is more at the core of Born Again than possibly any other, with the exception of Matt and his mother.
Well, Joseph, thank you so much for joining us. I also wanted to point out to the viewers that Joseph's the co-writer on a new kids graphic novel series from Simon and Schuster called Judge Kim and the Kids Court. We'll put up an image for that at the end. But thank you again for talking with us about really one of the best Daredevil stories, I think we could all agree, in the history of the character.
100%. 100%. I'm going to call it the best. That's the hill that I'm going to die on. And I've read a lot of amazing Daredevil stories. And thank you for having me. It's great to be able to talk about art, which is really at the core of comic books, and this page in particular, which for me, no matter what your interest in, whatever genre, whatever generation you are, I think you can look at this page and I think you can see amazing artistic virtue in it.